My name's Russell Lundstrom. I'm the founder of My Marketing DNA. I'm here with my good friend Andy Seth, and we are going to talk about high def vision and what that means in your life and your world and what it can give you. So please, Andy, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Andy here is a good friend of mine and the author of this amazing book called Bling. And as I was reading this book about a month ago, I came across a chapter in here where he was talking about visualization and what he's done with it, the power of it. And he's the first person I've ever seen that really has a step-by-step technique on how to not only cultivate your visualization skills, but how to really, it's that idea of creating your own reality. So yeah, everyone, welcome. This is Andy. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're at now?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Andy Seth, and I think a good place to start is just where I come from, because that really helps to explain the things I'm doing now and why I'm doing them now. I'm the son of two immigrants, born and raised from 0 to 14 years old in a Los Angeles motel. It wasn't one we owned, although I like to pretend like we did own it. We didn't. We were just Indian and lived there. But we lived in this motel called Lomita Motel. And we were there till I was 14 years old.
Was it an L-shaped motel or?
The motel was not L-shaped, but unlike motels of today, we had communal bathrooms. And that's a big distinction, because the doors, first of all, faced out, not in. That's a big distinction between some hotels and motels. Doors face out, and we had communal bathrooms, like a dorm. And so we lived there, and in exchange for us taking care of it, my mom and dad basically collected rent, did the tenants' laundry, and people paid weekly. It was that kind of a place. And in exchange for that, we got a roof over our heads. And for many reasons, including business failures, we went through a bankruptcy when I was 8 to 9 years old. We remained there for much longer than my family really anticipated. And so there was a lot that I learned coming up from there in terms of figuring out what I wanted and what I wanted to do with my life. There was a lot of clarity, because I think I came from a circumstance that I knew I wanted to be out of, but I just needed to figure out how to get out of there. And really that combination of what it materialized to be of how I got out was education, for sure, entrepreneurship, and spirituality. And those are really the three things that, if you put them together, helped transform my life from where it was to where it is today. And obviously there's a big journey along that way.
Yeah. And you're talking about an amazing transformation. I mean, those are pretty humble beginnings. Where are you at now? I mean, because this is pretty cool. I love what you're doing now.
Yeah. So I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Flow. Flow is a holdings company that operates a number of different businesses. Our primary business is a marketing operations firm. We execute and plan marketing operations for companies, specifically to drive ROIs. I only do things that I've tested on myself and know can make me money. And make me money meaning it can make other people money. I'm not really good at the other stuff that doesn't do that. That's partly what I love about what you're doing, Russell, right? Is you're looking to actually help people make more in terms of both their profit and their purpose. And that's really what speaks to me as well. So that's the company. And I have a number of different companies that I've built over the years, four pretty successful exits, scaled one company to be international, have another company in Costa Rica, etc. So I've had some good business success.
It's pretty far from the motel, right?
Yeah, I don't own a motel yet, though.
No, we'll work on that. I actually spent this last week with a buddy of mine who just bought a hotel, but you're also being humble because you also wrote this book. You're a musician, DJ. I mean, it's not just business, and that's kind of that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Is you have this vision, and what's really cool is how everything kind of intertwines with it. How you have the only book I've ever read that has like a soundtrack.
Yeah, I think. As I've gone through my journey, I've like a lot of entrepreneurs, I've gone through these really great ups, but those ups also felt just not as fulfilling as I thought they were going to. And I know it's super cliche, and it happened to me too. And I even remember saying to myself, yeah, I've heard people go through that, but let me find out. Well, the truth, it happened. Fortunately, when I sold my last company, I had a lot of time and resource, et cetera. And I really wanted to go on a journey to figure out what about my belief systems that I needed to look at and start to change and transform. And I did a number of things, like going back to India, meeting up with one of my uncles who's a very successful business person, but he's also got a tremendous amount of joy. And I took up meditation pretty deeply and went from doing 2 times a day, 20 minutes, to now an hour and a half a day, very consistently. And I also cross-train for meditation, which means I pick up different things like the Wim Hof method and do ice baths and different breathing techniques, etc. And through meditation, this message really arrived to me that was a story about somebody who goes on a spiritual journey, and that someone was a rapper. And when I got out of the meditation, I realized, wow, I've got to actually tell this story. And that's what the genesis of Bling, my book, is it's a parable about a rapper who goes on a spiritual journey. And it is heavily influenced by my own work, but people in my life, as well as my past of being a DJ for 10 years. And so I've been around kind of the music scene, and I thought this was just a great way to be able to share that story.
Well, I think it is probably, if not my favorite book I read last year, definitely one of the top 2. But it's, and so what I teach is, in working with a lot of small business owners, we work primarily around their marketing. And in my own experience, what happened is we lost sight of the vision in our business. And as an entrepreneur or a business owner, we all hear, the importance of vision and mission and all that stuff. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they kind of write the trite statement down, and then it ends up in a drawer somewhere. That's problem number 1. And then what happens is you actually, most of the time, will end up building a business that you didn't actually want, which is what happened to me. We ended up building a business that was so far removed from the original vision of what we started that I actually left that business. And it ended up costing me, like 4 or 5 years of my life. And now I had to start over from scratch. So it's a pretty big miscalculation, not miscalculation, but just mistake.
Sure.
And so when I help people with their marketing, I always start with, like, the most important thing is the company vision, the entrepreneur's vision. And like we mentioned earlier, it's one of those things that we all know about, but no one's ever sat down and taught us, like, a skill of, here's step 1, step 2, step 3 of how to not only how to do a vision, but I really, after reading your book, I kind of see it as like this muscle that you can exercise and build and make strong. And you use this word, this high def vision. I love that. And so I want to get this out there. I want people to understand the power of it. If you could tell your story a little bit about how this came about and how this has changed your life. And then we'll get into quickly, how you train your vision muscle. Sure. And then we'll see where it goes. But that's kind of what I was hoping to hear.
Yeah. So the concept of having an HD vision really was just providing a tremendous level of granular clarity to whatever the vision was. And for me, I really got my eyes opened, if you will, through an exercise that I was learning when I was in India. I was meeting with my uncle, and he kind of gave me this assignment. And the assignment was, go sit at the bank of the Ganges River and open your eyes, count to 3, and then close your eyes. And for as long as you can, just describe what you saw in your own mind. And so I went, sat down, looked up, 1, 2, 3, closed my eyes. And for the next 15 to 20 minutes, it was incredible how much detail I was able to pick up and observe just in 3 seconds of having my eyes open. What I started to see was how I could describe the water flow, the color, people that were on the other side, the rocks, the smells that were there, the feeling of the air and the moisture. There were so many components, and that was all captured so quickly. And what I learned about myself was how much we already know just by seeing really quickly. We don't actually need to narrate it out loud like our minds tend to do. It describes everything. It's actually all there. You just have to observe, and it's in us. But the problem that we have is being able to articulate that in a way that's helpful for other people when you're leading them. And that's really like the vision. When we talk about a company vision especially, but even your personal vision, a one-liner doesn't describe what you're trying to really accomplish and how we're going to get there. A one-liner is at best a succinct way of triggering all the other information as a recall mechanism, but it's not in and of itself a vision. A vision statement isn't a vision.
Right. And I think that's why a lot of times business owners, they'll do a vision and it ends up in the desk drawer in some back room, because it's not providing any value to the business.
No. Right.
Whereas when you do have a complete vision and a real vision, for instance, in my current company, I have a vision document that's 12 pages long. And you can't read that and not know what this company is about, how we behave, what we think. Our values are crystal clear in that document. And, you can, even like you said, like with the water and the sounds and the smells, when you have a vivid vision document like that, it just doesn't leave anything to chance. You're almost like writing your future. It's such a clear and powerful, and I think valuable piece of information, particularly since we're talking about businesses and business owners, can also be in your personal life. If you're struggling in life, you need to have a vision, lead an intentional life.
Sure.
But would you say that's kind of like the first step, is just acknowledging that you do take in much more than you think you do? Or
I think that's an important realization to have, which is that a vision is actually all within you already. And I don't mean that from a hokey standpoint. I mean, you have in you a very clear path of where you're trying to head. It's the monkey mind that starts to generate all these extraneous ideas that creates ambiguity. And what we're trying to get at is what is talking to us, what's calling us, and get really clear about that and articulate about it so that everything goes there. But once you start wrapping the ego into this a little bit and it starts wanting things, it starts wanting to be like, hey, but you know what? You could also do it like this, and you could do this. That's when it starts to get muddy, because you're not acting from the place where you're called. You're acting from a sense of ego. And that's not going to get you a clear vision.
Totally. And that's I don't even know if there's a double-edged sword. Is there a triple-edged sword or a quad-edged sword? Because it's not only just, that monkey mind, and when your ego starts coming in, it not only screws with your belief systems around, that's where the little voice that jumps in and says, nah, you can't do that. Who are you to do that?
Right.
And it'll squash your vision immediately. But also on the other side of that coin is when it's the guard or the guide rails to keep you on path, because we also have all these unlimited opportunities today where these business owners, if you're not clear on your vision and you're trying to build this vision out, and then all of a sudden you see a little opportunity over here, we call it, we tease and joke about the squirrel syndrome. All of a sudden you're going off over here or going off over here. And so this is why, again, I'm so big on the value of a really clear vision. It helps you not only say, yes, you can do it, but it gives you the tools to say, no, this isn't for us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when was the first time you started toying? How long ago was that bank of the river?
That when I was at the first time at the Ganges was about 4 years ago now.
Okay.
But I think visualization started off as dreaming, and there were times in my life, specifically when I went to military school. I went to a military academy when I was 13. I got a full scholarship to a place called Culver Military Academy. And going from LA to a military academy in Indiana while DJing was really confusing.
Yeah.
None of it was natural to me. And as a result, like none of that circumstance of putting all those things together was natural. Being in LA and DJing, okay, but being in a school and now all of a sudden academics are really important. Athletics were really important. Military leadership was important. I had to start to really think about, well, what is it that you want? What do you want? And I had a really challenging time in the plebe system. And I went to my commandant of cadets, Colonel Shine, and I said to him, I don't think I want to be here anymore, sir. And he said in his deep voice, he said, Seth, let me tell you something. You don't walk in here with a last name that anyone knows. Your parents aren't people that everyone knows and respects. So you have to earn it. And the way you're going to earn it is by beating them. Beat them athletically, beat them militarily, beat them academically. And when you beat them, you'll have earned their respect. Mm-hmm. And that really resonated with me because beating someone meant I had to have really specific goals, right? It was clear in academics. There's a very measured way to do it. That's also pretty measured in the military and in athletics, right? You know if you're better. Oh, totally. And that really helped me get a lot of clarity. Well, these are the goals. And by the time I had graduated, I was still DJing, but I also had graduated the top of all the things one does. And that was proof for me that, if I put my mind literally to it, but I know exactly what it is, it's actually quite easy. It wasn't as difficult as most people think it was. Yes, it was a lot of hard work. Hard work doesn't mean difficult. Hard work just means you had to work, and it was a lot of work, but it doesn't always mean that it's difficult. It wasn't so difficult. I just had to put in the work, but I knew exactly where I was headed. There weren't things that threw me off.
Would you say, it just occurred to me, would you say, when you hear people say, well, you just got to put your mind to it, that's like modern slang for having a vision, right? Like you can't put your mind to something that you don't have a vision for.
Right. What does that actually mean? When you put your mind to it, I would say you're right. It is about having a vision.
It is.
That's cool.
It's focusing on that vision and getting to work.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I like it. So you've traveled far, and traversed mountains to get where you're at. And, I think you'd agree that vision is probably one of the largest components to your success. I know it's been for mine. How does one go about cultivating this high def vision? You in the book, you have this, you went through actually a technique that helped you develop this muscle.
Yes. In order to develop vision, there's a few steps. The first step is to see and acknowledge how good or bad are you at it. You really have to understand your baseline. Then we're going to get to what are the steps to develop, and then where do you want to end up. But how to assess your baseline is really quite simple. There's two ways that you can do this. One way is to just close your eyes and try to picture something, and just decide what you're going to try to picture and see if you can pull it up in your mind's eye. Chances are you'll get to a certain degree of it, and then it will start to fade, and it'll go away, and you might bring it back and it'll fade. That's one way.
Does it matter if it's real or unreal or?
No, it doesn't matter what it is. No.
Right.
And it doesn't, I would actually suggest don't pick something with a huge amount of detail. Just try to get like a basic and see if you can get that, and see how long you can hold it.
Purple elephant, right?
Yeah. See how long you can hold it, because that's your ability to concentrate, right? The ability to concentrate is a requirement for you to be able to visualize. You can't visualize and hold a vision if you're always going, your awareness is shifting. So you have to be able to concentrate. So pick something somewhat simple. The other way to do it is just to pick something like a static piece of color. Let's say I've got the back of this. It's like it matches my background. So I might take that and look at it for 3 seconds, just like the river, and then close my eyes and see how long I can hold it there in the mind's eye. And again, it will start to drift, and you bring it back and you bring it back, and you see how long until it fades away. what you'll start to see is as you pick maybe different colors, let's say you picked a black and a red and a green, you'll be able to exercise how strong is your ability, your mental toughness and strength to be able to hold your concentration in one place while visualizing and keeping that vision. And what you'll find, most people, myself included, is we're actually quite weak at that very thing. So if we're going to ask ourselves to build a vision for the future, there's a big gap between what we're skilled at and what we really want. But here's the good news. Step 2 is not that you have to go and lift weights and there's like a 3-month process before you can even do something. The good news is this: you can actually tap into what all that vision is, but you've got to be able to start to quiet your mind a bit, right? For some people, that's meditation. For other people, that's just zoning out, just chilling, whatever it is. But you got to be able to quiet the mind a little bit and let it start to come. And as it comes, don't think that you have to open your eyes to write something down, or that you have to take a picture or anything. Just let it continue to come. Here's what will happen. You will remember most of it. You might not remember all of it, but you'll remember most of it. But you want to let the creativity come in. The way I describe it is in music, if we stack a note upon a note, and if you put them right back to back to back, it just sounds like a cacophony of sound. There's no music. But when you create space between the notes, you have harmony. And space is required in between thoughts in order for some creativity to come in. It comes in the form of ideas, inspiration, intuition, but you have to create some space for that to be able to pour in. Otherwise, you're just thinking. And thinking isn't going to get you vision. You need to apply thought after. And so I know this sounds like it could be a little bit hard to pick up, but when you sit quietly and allow that thought to just come, you'll start to see that you'll find a path. It will start to carve. And allow yourself to continue to carve without having to write it down, like I said, because you'll interrupt the flow. You'll effectively end up in flow.
I love the analogy of the music, because sometimes I think what my kids listen to is, this cacophony of just noise. But
right.
I think most people in today's world, their brain just runs, I think like a boat throttle. It's just full speed all the time. And if you don't create that space in between, how is your brain going to process anything? How are you going to
for those ideas to go?
Well, and you brought up earlier that, you have this, your vision's already within you. It's not something you really need to struggle to create. Mm-hmm. But if you don't allow your thoughts that space to breathe and that your vision to come out.
Yeah.
That's. Another cool thing I heard you just say, I think, is a side bonus benefit of all this is increased concentration, focus, and attention.
Oh yeah.
When you get this muscle really working for you, the idea of focusing for extended or longer periods of time, that's a really valuable skill, again, in today's hectic, crazy
of course.
world.
The only way to trigger flow state in anything you're doing is to be able to sit in concentration doing something you love and are good at.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to trigger flow. But you got to have the ability to stay there and not get distracted. Not just because of the device distraction, but because of your ability to control your awareness. That's actually the hardest part. It's easy to shut all the things off. You can do that. The hard part is shutting this off.
Yeah. Totally. So what would you say if, I have a friend that I'm working with on some vision work, and 2 questions here. One is they're struggling with this idea of a vision being, I don't want to say it's singular, but it is focused. Like there is a path to it or a scope to it versus, well, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do the other thing. They're kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. So there's that. But then also, well, let's talk about that, and I'll ask the second part in a second.
Yeah. So I think many entrepreneurs struggle with the desire to want to create many businesses and have all these ideas that they can actually even execute on. It's not usually that they can't. What I would challenge for that is, can your vision include some of that? Because if you can't find a way that your vision includes it, it's just noise.
Yeah.
And I have personally had to figure that out because I'm starting my 10th company. And this is the second company under the Flow banner. All the other companies were unrelated. They didn't have anything to do with each other. Now I'm building a holdings company that will launch and start additional businesses. This vision came from the desire to have many companies that weren't all adjacent moves. They weren't going to be the very exact next thing. And I looked at models all around the world. I specifically did research. I looked at Harvard Business Review, in fact, which has great case studies on conglomerates, worldwide conglomerates. So I fed myself before I started to really put the vision together. I just fed myself knowledge, information, because I knew there was something out there that did what I felt I wanted to, which is be able to create a lot of businesses that weren't all exactly like one slight move off of each other. And I knew they looked like conglomerates. Virgin is one of my favorite companies in the world. And they're a huge conglomerate. Tata from India, amazing conglomerate. So I knew they were out there. And once I fed myself that, when it came time to build my vision, what was so obvious to me was I've just got to build a company that at each one has a brand. I put some shared services together. I create a new entity, bring those services to that new entity, let it begin its own thing, put people in charge. Like there was all these ways to craft it, but it was so easy to figure that out. It was really, how do I bring all this together in one vision? And so that's where this next step comes into play. And that next step is to sit and write. And write and write and write. And I know a lot of people do different techniques for visioning. They do vision boards. Very cool. They might do it physically. They might do it digitally. All that's cool. You still need to write. I'm going to make a very strong statement about that because here's why. When you write, you're moving something from your subconscious, which is where that clarity is. And it's going to go through the conscious, out your hand, into typing or writing. When you move something from the subconscious out, you're pushing that energy out, but it's coming out of you because it's there. When you put pictures together, you're limited by the magazines you have. You're limited by whatever was provided to you, and now those are your clippings. With writing, it is all you. And that also helps make no mistake for anybody else reading it, on your team, on your leadership, people that you're trying to bring into your businesses or business. They should be able to read this and say, I totally get it, and I am so on board with where you're headed. Or, whoa, I like what you're doing today, but like where this is going, this ain't for me for these reasons.
Yeah, it's such a powerful tool.
Huge.
Like your employees, if they don't see it, it helps you, you're not the right butt in the right chair. Your vendors. I mean, when you have that solid vision and it's crystal clear,
it's literally what I just used to start this new company. I'm a undergrad, major. That's it. I tapped out at that and I was full on into business. Yeah. So here I've got a doctor partnering with me on a new business, and she's partnering with me because I was able to show her the vision. There was no like, hey, I got this idea. Would you be interested? Like, I'm sure I could do that and it would take me so far. That's not the same as providing somebody, here's the vision.
It's amazing. I actually sent my vision out when it was a first draft even, like it wasn't even done. And I sent it to about 20 people and I had, no kidding, like 4 of them write back and say, just take my money. Like that, it's that powerful. It's such a cool thing.
Yeah.
So to kind of wrap this up, because you actually answered my second question, was talking a little bit about the value of the vision you've had in your life. And the idea, like Branson creating Version, he may not have had the clear vision around what's he at, like several hundred different companies now. Right, yeah. That may not be there, but he absolutely knew that he was going to have all these different things in place.
Yeah.
So the value is, not questionable. I hope we've made that abundantly clear. If I heard you right, so we want to get the muscle going. We want to recognize first the awareness of what we already have. We want to sit and practice, our attention and focus with remembering things, whether it's a color, trying to envision stuff. And then the third step is kind of making room between the thoughts. Is that right so far?
And that's basically sitting in quiet. It doesn't have to be in meditation. It could just be with your eyes open, but it's quiet.
Even exercising, like running on a treadmill or hiking or whatever.
If that's how you're right. Yeah. If that's how your body,
you stop thinking about other things and it makes that space. Is there a fight and then the last step is obviously just sitting down. And I'm a big fan of handwriting. I'm typing doesn't do it for me. Yeah. But get a pen or pencil and a piece of paper and just
that is by far the best. My cheat code for this, because I like to speak and think, mine is this bad boy right here, my microphone.
Yeah.
So there are times in Google Docs, there's a voice to type button. And so when I type, I might type, but then there's like a story that I want to tell because that'll pull some information. So stories, I don't want to tell the story while writing it. It's so much more powerful for me to speak a story. So I hit the voice to type and I'll tell the story, let it transcribe. It'll be 85% good. And I'll have to come back and fix up some of the missed transcriptions. But I've got all that out and I've got that passion and energy out, and then I can continue with typing. And that's my process.
And another plus side benefit is this idea of getting into flow, which we all strive for.
Yeah.
That happens pretty regularly when you're in this state.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, I think really the point of working in a flow state is that you can get a huge amount of productivity out of yourself while doing something you really, really care about, right? Yeah. Well, how can you trigger flow? One of the ways is you have to know exactly where you're headed. That requires visualization in HD. That's why we're talking about this. It's a precursor to all the rest of the work.
Yeah, super cool. Well, I think we made it clear on the value of this vision work, and I want to encourage anyone watching this that you got to read this book first of all. Andy's book's amazing. Also, look him up on Spotify. You can get the playlist. I think you have the playlist in here, right?
Well, it's actually it's not even a playlist. It's a soundtrack, right? I produced an entire album. Yeah, I produced an album under my artist name, A-Love, A-L-U-V. And yeah, it's everywhere. It's all over, and it's been a huge blessing to be able to spread a message through music. Each chapter correlates to each track on the album. And it's awesome music. Like I actually use it for. I hope it's okay. I'll have to talk to you about bumper music stuff, but I use it for video bumper music. Like the first song is awesome for that. But thanks.
Hey man, thank you so much. If someone wants to reach out for you, they go ahead and get a hold of you. I'm going to tag you in everything we do. And
awesome.
Whether it's flow, if you want to mention what's your new flow is specifically related in what area?
Oh, the new company is Flow Health, and we're going to be launching a whole suite of services to engage with patients on behalf of different doctors and their practices. And so it'll be a combination of marketing automation and chatting and texting to be able to provide a higher level of patient care throughout the whole spectrum that they're unable to do on their own.
Yeah, that's not needed today. That was sarcasm, by the way. Yeah, no, it's incredible. All right. Well, I hope this was valuable. I certainly learned something again. Every time I talk to you, I learn. And, you just kind of re-energize me. I do my own exercises, but I need to put a little more behind it. But, hey, man, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
And anyone who's watching this, feel free to comment below. We'd love to hear what you think about it, how vision has turned up in your life and how it's really leading an intentional life, how it's transformed your life. So, yeah, love to hear. Any last words you want to say? Or
well, if you want to find out more information from me too, I'm happy to answer questions. You can always go to andyseth.com, and that's a great hub of resources. I write a lot because I practice these methods. And so all my content is out there for free and ungated. Have at it. And I'd love to hear from you too.
Walking the talk. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother.
Take it easy.
Appreciate it.